Partnering with EY, we have been asked to take part in a consulting project to decide whether or not Costco should take its business into China. This Global Mindset Colloquium allowed us to gain valuable knowledge about the global industry and has increased all of our global mindsets.
Hi, my name is Akil, and I focused on the regulatory considerations of this project.
My name is Ross, and I focused on the human capital aspects of this project.
I'm Elizabeth, and I researched the cultural aspects of China.
My name is Mandy, and my primary focus was communications.
I'm Caroline, and I focused on tax and structuring considerations.
There are many risks for Costco when entering into China. There are many copyright issues, and overall, China has difficulty protecting intellectual property. Patent laws are not as respected as much in China. Discrimination is also a major concern for many foreign companies. The government favors domestic enterprises. Bidding for projects, land, and overall general business is often given to the local business. Costco's large warehouse locations would be difficult to bid for because of the amount of land needed, as the government would rather give that land to local business. There are many more rules and standards for how products are designed, manufactured, and sold before they're even allowed to enter the market. These are all designed to hurt foreign companies and help local businesses. However, much of these risks brought on by the Chinese government can be mitigated if Costco partners with government-led unions and becomes an extension of the state. In order to be successful in China, Costco must partner with unions. When Walmart entered China, even though Walmart opposed unionization, Walmart agreed to unionize in order to appease the Chinese government. Successful integration in China means being on good terms with Chinese government. Unions work differently in China. Unions are not meant to bargain for labor contracts or better working conditions. Instead, unions are an extension of the government. It allows China to better fund its Communist Party and at the same time make sure that all of its foreign companies are in check. The Chinese government also believes that their unions help maintain social order. When dealing with China, Costco must abide by their laws and regulation, and unionization, although not the norm of Costco, must be implemented for any success. If Costco unionizes in China, the Chinese government can in some ways run Costco, which may not bode well with Costco officials. Chinese officials may try to drastically change Costco. Costco offers high benefits and high pay to its employees. A government-led union could have an adverse effect on Costco. It is apparent that if Costco were to unionize in China, it would lose some control of its company. Core values of Costco, which will lead to high pay and high retention, would most likely change as a result of the pressure to please the Chinese government.
The human capital considerations are that China has the world's largest population. However, the size of China's workforce declined for the second straight year in 2013. In December, China approved the loosening of the controversial one-child policy that was an effort to address a shrinking labor force, rising elderly population, and male-female imbalances. In addition, many professionals look to move from one international company to another every 2 to 3 years in China. Competition for limited Western trained and English fluent personnel plays a role in this high turnover rate. The individual looks for higher pay, position, and a title as a result. Loyalty is not an issue that will hold a young professional back in seeking higher pay and position. This may be an issue for Costco. Costco did rank as having the most satisfied employees according to the 2013 retail report card generated by Glassdoor.com. Costco pays its hourly workers an average of just over $20 an hour, compared to just under $13 an hour by competitor Walmart. Their employees receive health benefits and pensions, which may cause a lower turnover rate than a typical American company located in China.
Chinese culture is very different from American culture. It is built on respect and community to their family members as well as supervisors. They place a high value on showing face at meetings and coming to them with gifts. This would be a cultural difference that Costco would have to adapt to if it expanded into China. Costco also prides itself for keeping their costs low for their members. However, Chinese consumers are wary towards low prices because it's an indicator of low quality, and they prefer buying things from smaller local markets. If Costco were to expand, they might have to compromise their low-cost values.
In addition to these cultural differences, there are many challenges that will arise from managing Costco in China, one of which is communication. The language barrier between the United States and China is substantial and is something that could not be ignored. Costco would have to send translators to China in order to train managers and select the employees that will be working with them. These translators would have to remain in China until the Costco branch could essentially run on its own. This is something that certainly could be done, but is a challenge nonetheless. Communicating between the managers in the United States and those in China would become increasingly more difficult because of the time zones. There can be up to a 12-hour difference in time, so this could surely create some complications. Again, this obstacle could be overcome, but it would still be difficult. There is also a question of whether or not the Chinese people will like the products and services that Costco has to offer. Typically, they shop at local stores with fresh grocery items. They tend to shy away from purchasing large quantities of boxed food, and this could create a problem. Costco is anything but a fresh local market, and such a big buy-in-bulk type store would be something completely new in this culture, so the local people might not respond well. In order to ensure that the Chinese will like the Costco's products, they would most likely have to change their warehouse-like structure to fit a more local market feel.
From a structuring and tax standpoint, there are few benefits that outweigh the negatives associated with being an international corporation in China. While China does have a lower corporate tax rate, 25% compared to 40% in the United States, there are many other risks that come with expanding into China. In order to expand into China, Costco would have to legally register as a WOFE business entity with the Chinese government. This is a long and complex process that often requires hiring Chinese representatives that are responsible for dealing with the Chinese government, hiring local employees, and doing market research within the country. China also has had a continual issue with tax evasion and is currently in the process of passing strict anti-tax evasion laws. Because international companies often utilize third-party representatives in China, with this new legislation, international companies are at a larger risk for heavy fines. China's strict government control is also an aspect that needs to be considered. Historically, Chinese legislation is more likely to be enforced on international companies than domestic companies. There is also the issue of the lack of transparency within the Chinese government. It is difficult to ensure that these policies are being followed, as they are often interpreted differently by local Chinese governments. This leads to inconsistency in taxation and other business regulations. These issues pose a large risk to Costco, thus leading us to believe that the tax and structuring regulations in China make it unadvisable for expansion.
After thorough research, we have concluded that it does not make business sense for Costco to expand into China. Even though there is a huge market, the risks outweigh the benefits.
Based on regulatory considerations, our group discovered that Costco would be forced to unionize all of its workers in China, which would basically force the company to become an arm of the state. Costco would be forced to make drastic and most likely negative changes to company policies simply to please the Chinese government.
In addition to regulatory considerations, we found out that Chinese workers only stay at American companies for about 2 to 3 years. This poor turnover rate is a part of the Chinese culture, but Costco is not used to this. Costco spends a considerable amount of money on training their employees, and this low turnover rate will hurt Costco financially.
The Chinese culture also contradicts the existing motto of Costco. Chinese people tend to buy from smaller, local, fresh markets, and this would severely limit Costco's ability to enter the market. And although Costco can adjust for this and offer more tailored products for the Chinese consumers, we believe that Costco would have to compromise its low-cost values too much to do so.
The structuring and tax considerations in China make it difficult to expand into the market. The strict government control in regards to international companies expanding into the market, as well as the regulations surrounding taxes, make it risky to expand into the market.
Based on these factors and considerations, our group has decided that it would not be beneficial for Costco to expand into the Chinese market.